The top 50 books in my collection, part 5. Stay tuned. Hey YouTube, it's Matt here. This is my 5th video in my top 50 comic books in my PC. If you haven't seen any of the previous videos, this is in no particular order. I'm doing 10 comic books at a time in videos. I just wanted to break the video up so it wasn't a big, long, monotonous video. But it's hard for me to justify what my number 1 comic book is versus my 50 because I have different ways of evaluating and appreciating my books. It's not just on what my most expensive comic book is versus my 50. I have a lot of different reasons for collecting, and value is one of the small ones on that list. So let's get to the last 10, but not necessarily the top 10. But I am going to say there are some bangers in this list of books here. So this book is Savage Tales #1, the first appearance of Man-Thing. And this is graded out as a 9.4. This is just such a great book. I ended up getting, I've had one copy of this, raw copy, for years. I ended up getting this book in 2019. And again, Savage Tales #1. I talk about bangers. This is one of them. A 9.4 Savage Tales #1. The first appearance of Conan in magazine format, and also the first appearance of Man-Thing. A lot of speculation going on about Man-Thing coming into the MCU, driving the value of this book up. The next book up, and the second magazine size comic book in the collection. Actually, I have hundreds of magazine size comic books, but I only have 3 of them slabbed. And one I just talked about, that's Savage Tales. Now, to give you an example, this is how much bigger that they are than a normal comic book. But I guess I gave away the next book. You'll be seeing that soon. So this is Savage Sword of Conan #1, graded out at a 9.8. This was written in 1974. I do not pretend to have 9.8s for every book in the collection. I don't have to have a 9.8 for every Conan book in my collection, but I'm a giant Conan the Barbarian fan, and for this title, for this book, I wanted it in a 9.8. There's only 162 9.8s in the entire world, and I'm glad to have this. Every time I see this book, I just look at that art and I smile. This is the first slab that I ever bought. I saw this listing on eBay and I was reading the Witchblade. I have a raw copy of this book, but I was reading this series, just really enjoyed it, so I had to pick this up. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. This is a 9.2, and this is a good book. Please don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of spine ticks on this, and I could have got a higher grade copy, but I don't care, and I'm not going to improve it. I'm not going to upgrade, because this is the first slab book I ever bought, really when I was learning about the collection itself. So, Witchblade #1. This is a title that doesn't get a whole lot of love if you look at it value-wise, but Witchblade really was well written back in the 90s. I think it just gets lumped into a lot of bad 90s books, but Witchblade wasn't one of those bad 90s books. It was a good 90s book. I'm glad to have the 9.2. Like I said before, this is my first slab ever, so I'm never going to upgrade it. Now, this book is Daredevil #181. I bought this about whenever the movie came out. This is the death of Elektra, a very well-known issue. But this is one of the first ones I bought. Again, Witchblade #1 was the first, but this is probably in my top 5 of my first books ever bought. Just a cool storyline, and I really enjoy the whole Elektra story. Classic Frank Miller story. I mean, he's really what made Daredevil interesting to read. Love having a 9.4 in the collection. The next book, and if you've been watching my top 50 videos, you are noticing a theme I love the black suit. Spider-Man black suit story, leads into Venom, leads into Carnage, leads into Anti-Venom, leads into Null. So many storylines based upon the black suit. This book came out in April of 2007. This is Amazing Spider-Man 539. They brought back the black suit. Now, this is not the symbiote suit, but I was excited just to see Spider-Man donning the black suit all over again. So, Amazing Spider-Man 539. Talk about value not necessarily being part of my criteria for top 50. This is one of those books. There's 727 9.8s out there. I don't know if this book is valuable or not. If this is a $30 comic book or more, I've never looked at the value. Next up on my list of top books is Conan the Barbarian #1 from 1970. This is Roy Thomas written, Barry Windsor Smith art on the cover. Love this book. I've been going back and forth about having this book resubmitted after a cleaning and a press by a professional cleaner and presser, but I was just told today that from a professional presser, he does not recommend me resending this book, so I have a lot to ponder about this one. So this book right here, this is a common theme, but this is one of my favorite covers, and honestly, this one really is one of my favorite covers of all time. This is Incredible Hulk Annual #1. Hulk battles the Inhumans. Classic Jim Steranko art. Honestly, the storyline's quite forgettable. It's not the best story written, but the art on the cover is one of those things that separates this book and makes it an iconic book all in itself. I've talked a lot about this cover. Love this cover. This was sent to a private signing down at CGC, and it was signed by the great Jim Steranko. Only 28 copies at a 7.0 signature series. Next up is Batman Superman #2. Now, this book came out in September of 2013. This is signed by the artist Jay Lee. This book is on here. This is my son Spencer's first slab book. Not only did he get a good book, he got a signed by a great artist, and it's a sketch cover. So, this is Batman Superman #2, signed by Jay Lee, owned by the cameraman. Spencer has a great eye. This book, there's only 15 Blue Label 9.8s, and there are only 7 total copies that are signed for a total of 22 9.8s of this book. This book right here, Incredible Hulk #181, graded at a 5.0. One of the things that makes this book so special to me, this was a birthday present from my wife as a complete surprise. I didn't even know she knew that I was interested in this book. She ended up getting it for me. Because this book was a special present from the wife, I have a special place in my heart for Incredible Hulk #181, first appearance of Wolverine. This is one of those books that if somebody finds it in their collection, they ship it off to CGC to be graded. So these books are out there, but they are becoming more and more expensive. At 5.0, there are 664 copies in a CGC census. And the last book on my top 50 books in my collection, at least slab books, is an iconic cover. Now, I'm not saying this is my favorite. It's not #1, but it's one of them, one of the top 50 anyhow. But there's a theme in my top books. A lot of them is cover art. It's just fabulous. This is one of those books. Great storyline. Classic Silver Surfer #4 from 1969. What makes this great is the great John Buscema cover of Silver Surfer sliding down and attacking Thor as he stands on a rainbow bridge. But I seem to notice I am a big cover guy. I love cover art, which is funny because I really enjoy reading the books more than I do the art. When you're talking about favorite individual issues, the art seems to be what jumps out at me and one of the things that I like most about the book. So, my last book in my top 50, but not necessarily my #1 book, Silver Surfer #4. I was first introduced to John Buscema as a Conan the Barbarian fan as a kid. I just loved his art. Whenever I saw this this cover, this was amazing. This is one of those most iconic covers ever. Yes, it's a low grade, a 3.5, but it is in my collection. There's only 88 copies of this book in a 3.5. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this top 50 journey that we've made the last few days. So if you guys like the content of this channel, please hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and put a comment down below. Guys, I want to thank everyone for watching, and you have a great day.